On this episode of Ashes 613, I talk with Kim Almberg about worship teams and sound frequencies. Stay tuned to hear her play an acoustic song that she wrote that completely blows my mind. Hi.
Hi.
These are too big for my ears, and they're littlest. They're the littlest ones. That I put the littlest things on them, and they still just pop out all the time.
Man. It's hard to find ones that fit right.
It is. I wanted to know if they made like AirPods for children, and Apple thought that was funny. They told me no,
Really?
that I was crazy. Yeah, I'm like, hey, do you make AirPods for like 5-year-olds? Because my ears. My mother said when I was born they called me Dumbo because my baby pictures, my ears are huge, right?
Oh my goodness.
I don't think they grew any. They're like the same size.
Well, okay. So you went from
the rest of me grew around my ears. Yeah.
Oh man, they said that about my feet, and I still have big feet. So.
Do you really? My son has big feet. I think 15, size 15 in boys.
Oh man.
What size are you?
Well, it kind of varies on the shoe. I think I'm generally like a 10 or 10 and a half.
That is big for a girl,
Yeah,
isn't it?
I mean,
Are you tall?
I'm 5'6".
Okay. Well, I'm 5'3". I'm short.
Oh,
and I'm up here. So like I'm from the Southeast, and all the girls are short, and that's fine. I'm just standard.
Man.
I'm like standard size. But now I'm up here in Northeast Iowa among the Vikings, and I look like a tiny person. Like these women are just like all the women and the men. But I'm used to men being tall, but all these women are taller than me, and I'm like, wow, I'm so short.
Interesting. Cool.
Women are tall. So like if you're a man watching this, you're looking for a tall woman. Wisconsin, Minnesota, North Iowa, that's your place.
Well, right? You always have someone to reach the shelf for you, right? You'll never be lacking. You can always get the shelf, right?
I worked this summer part-time here at the local country club because they needed some help, and I was like, I'll do it. I come in there and do your stuff. And so it was so much fun. Me and a couple other girls worked this summer, and they were always saying there was so much I couldn't reach. Like they had the paper towels way up, and they had this other thing way up, and they were constantly like, oh, we have to go get this for Grace, or we have to move this down. And so it was so funny. All summer they were making fun of me for they had to accommodate me. Like I have to be accommodated up here because I'm so short.
That's interesting. I did not know that about the that area.
Right. So where are you at?
So I'm in Virginia.
Okay. So you're used to
Southeast Virginia.
5'3". That's normal.
I mean, my sister's about 5'3"-ish, 5'2", something like that. But
that's very normal in the Southeast. I didn't know that about this area either. And I got here, I'm like, oh wow, these women are all so tall. And some of them are really, they do volleyball and basketball, but they have a great girls basketball team up here. The girls Hawkeye, they love it. So, okay, so how's your Saturday going?
It's good. Pretty lazy Saturday, really, which is nice. It's just kind of rainy and gray, which I actually really enjoy that kind of weather, personally.
Do you?
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, I like to chill and just watch Gilmore Girls. I've been going back through Gilmore Girls and
yes, I noticed. What is that on? Is it Netflix?
It's on Netflix. Yeah,
that's what I thought. The Netflix started rerunning it. Yeah, I saw that too, and I was thinking too, like, hey, when I get time, I need to binge watch the Gilmore Girls again. Man, that'd be so much fun.
Such a good show. Just nice and relaxing, and
I always did love it.
The fall vibes.
It does. Right. So, are the trees changing down there yet?
It takes a bit for the trees here to change. So not quite, no. We joke here, if the leaves fall in September, it's because it's so hot they died and they just turned brown from dying and fell off. So we actually have a lot of leaves in our front yard right now, but it's just from the heat.
Right. And that's been another pleasant surprise about being in the North is a lot of times in the South, in Kentucky and Tennessee and West Virginia, Virginia, if you can catch a good year when the leaves change, the weather cooperates. It's beautiful because all the
for sure.
mountains and it's so pretty. But more often than not, you can't catch the weather right, and the weather kind of screws you over, and the leaves just die and turn brown and fall.
Yeah. It's crazy weather here for sure. I don't know where it's like at other places, but I mean, a week ago we had a tropical storm blow through, and so we just
And up here the weather's cooperated, and these leaves are turning yellow and orange and red and beautiful. I'm like,
so pretty.
Your leaves change up here because it kind of gets a gradual cooler. It doesn't just like, it's crazy in the South. There's years in Kentucky where it'll be like 95 degrees, and then next week, you know, one of the nights will drop down to 42, and then all the leaves will just fall, right? They just give up. The leaves are like, I'm done. Okay. I'm not changing colors this year. I'm done. I just don't feel like it. And they just fall off and die. And so up here, I'm like, look, and I have a huge sugar maple in my backyard, and I'm waiting. They say they turn like bright red, and I'm like, yes,
that's the best. The bright red ones. That's the best.
That's what they told me. Now, this is my first fall, so I'm waiting. That sugar maple is huge too. It's way taller than my house, and they're like, you know, the sugar maples turn the fire red. They call them the fire maples. I'm like, oh, I'm so excited.
Nice.
And I have this big apple tree out there. It's got 10,000 apples on it. And that's what we were doing today.
That's so cool.
We have been picking apples. Yeah.
So, do you like to bake, like make pies and all that good stuff?
I actually do like to make pies, but
you
know, there's so many apples, and I'm really trying so hard. Okay. I'm really have been trying to not eat a lot of sugar and not eat a lot of baked goods and maybe lose 2.5 pounds. The apples are making it hard for me because I want to make apple pie and apple crisp and apple dumplings and apple turnovers. I want to make all the apple stuff, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So the other morning for breakfast, I made fried apples and homemade biscuits, and I'm like, I just had to, though. I mean, I have these fresh apples. I have to. It's like God is telling me to.
Right, exactly. He's providing them for you for a reason.
This apple tree in the backyard, it made 10,000 apples. He's like, he wants me to eat apple pie. Who am I to say no?
I mean, look, I'm sure there's going to be lots of pie up in heaven.
So much. All you can eat, never gain any weight buffet. That's what I think.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be great.
And I'm allergic to peanuts. So I feel like once I get there, God's going to have this platter of like peanut butter sandwiches, Reese's
peanut
cups,
butter cookies, and peanut butter fudge.
I'll get to eat it all.
You will. You will get to eat it all. Girl, I can't imagine. I live on peanut butter. If it wasn't for peanut butter, I'd starve to death.
Oh, man.
That's what I eat. Peanut butter sandwiches, peanut butter and crackers, because I'm lazy and I don't have to cook it. You're running late in the morning. Peanut butter sandwich for breakfast. That's good. Yeah. So anyway, I don't know what I'm going to do with these apples. I've been sharing them. I've given everybody I know. The running joke up here in Iowa is don't leave your car doors unlocked. Now, that's a joke, but it's funny because they do that other places. You don't leave your car doors unlocked because of crime. But not here in the Midwest. If the joke is don't leave your car doors unlocked because you'll come back and you'll have a seat full of tomatoes and zucchinis.
You'll get gifts. That's great.
Everybody just has more produce than they know what to do with.
I love that. I love that.
I'm like, awesome. Hey, you want some apples? They're like, no. Do you want some apples? No. Do you want some of my apples? No. Do you want some of my apples? No.
The accent.
What are we going to do with all these apples? And the zucchini, my God, the zucchini.
Oh, man.
Right.
That's great. We tried to garden. My husband built this whole raised flower bed and everything, but it's just hard to grow stuff when it gets so hot and, everything just shrivels right up.
You just can't. We have a farm in Florida in the Panhandle where it's like the last stop before hell down there, and it's so high. Like that's the last exit, right? But so I'm like people are like they think they're going to hell to party, and I'm in Florida last year sweating like people don't understand what hell's going to be like. Okay, I can't even handle the Florida heat. I cannot handle the heat now. I can't handle the heat in Florida. So
and no pies.
No pies and no gardens because look,
Mm-hmm.
that you're right. There was no way to grow a garden in that heat down there in that you would have
Yeah.
had to. But people were like, what they did, the native people in the panhandle, you have to water twice a day, morning and evening. You can't water in the heat of the day, but they also have to have
Mm-hmm.
shade. So these people were taking like sheets and tying them onto stakes in the ground and trying to provide shade for all their
Oh,
plants. And I'm like, I'll just go to the farmer's market. You guys do such a
there you
great
go.
job. Right. So I just went to the farmer's market last year and we didn't grow anything.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's
good, but
it's too hot. But up here stuff just grows. Like if you accidentally drop a seed on the ground, you have a plant next year, right? And you're giving stuff
oh, that's
away.
great.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's pretty cool up here.
oh.
So, you tell me a little bit about you and what are you doing some music. I heard a beautiful song on Spotify from
Oh,
you.
thank
I
you.
loved it. So, let's hear some about that.
Yeah, well, so I live in Virginia, like I just said, we just discussed. And born and raised here. I've moved 3 times in my life, but it's all been in a 15-minute radius. um, and I live here with my husband. We've been married for 5 years. We have 2 cats. So I close the door because they will come in here and step all over the keyboard and mess everything all up. So,
Of course they will. And that's okay. I have 3 dogs that I have to actually send upstairs during podcasts because there's no
yeah,
peace. So, I
yeah,
understand.
they just want to be with us.
That's
Um,
right.
yeah. Um, but yeah, started playing guitar when I was 10. I remember um, my parents said, I guess maybe they asked, like, this upcoming school year, like, is there any extra stuff you want to do? And I said, I'll think about it. And I remember they were either in their bedroom watching TV or in the living room watching TV. And I went and I just stood in front of the TV and I was like, I want to learn guitar. And they were like, okay. So started lessons, and really the guy that got me influenced for guitar was Stephen Curtis Chapman. Good
Love.
old SC
Yes.
squared, yeah. Mom would
Yes.
play his CDs all the time, and the song Dive, I
Yep.
was like,
Diving in.
I'm learning that song. Like I wanted to learn guitar
Perfect.
so I could play that song.
Yeah.
So, like day one of my guitar lessons, I was like, I want to learn this song. And the teacher was like, well, okay, let's actually learn how to play first, and then we'll do that.
Right?
But um, so yeah, from there, just I basically just lived in my room on my guitar. I had my rug in my room that I would just sit on for hours, and I had my CD player and all the songbooks for all of Stephen Curtis Chapman's CDs. I'd just play right along with the CD player for hours, and somehow my legs didn't fall asleep back then. No back problems yet. Um, and then just kind of built my instruments. I got a bass, I got an electric guitar, started playing drums, started playing stuff in church, and I started writing music really in high school. I had a really good friend that I had known since I was born, and we kind of reconnected in high school when their family started going to our church. We didn't even know, or they didn't know that we were there. They just started, and we were like, hey, we know you. So she plays guitar and loves music too. So we started writing music together, and I'm actually at her church now. She leads worship at a church. So I started going there, and I'm playing with her again. And um, but yeah, music's just always been a part of my life, and I mean, is basically what's defined me um, forever. So really, really excited to be able to get that single out. It's kind of a dream of mine forever.
Yeah.
So
And are you working on an album to go with that single?
so yeah, right now I've actually started recording some stuff for an EP, which is like a shorter album,
Mm-hmm.
like 5
Yeah.
songs. So I've got some instruments tracked for that at the moment. Lyrics are not like my strong suit.
Right.
So I'm still working on those. So,
Right.
well, I don't have like a date that it's going to come out yet, but getting it started for sure. So,
Now, do you track how many of your own instruments are you tracking then on these songs?
all of them. Yeah,
Really?
yeah,
What?
yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah,
I
yeah.
love that. Wow. I need that talent. Share.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Share. Send
it's
some my
it's
way.
it's really cool. The recording drums is like super hard, and you have to do it just right. And so, what I have at home is not great for recording. So the church I go to, they actually said, "Hey, come and use the drums here." So it was so great that they were able to bless me with that opportunity to just go and use a drum set that was already set up and ready to go. And um,
That's
so
very
yeah,
cool.
just so
What's
many blessings.
what's your do you have a favorite instrument or you just like all of them
Hmm.
equally?
You know, there's something about the drums that I do really
That you're
enjoy.
so you're a percussionist at heart.
I think so, but then I look at a guitar and I think that's where it all started,
Oh,
and that's like my first love, and it's
yeah.
just I don't know. So I would probably say guitar is like number one, but
Yeah.
drums are super fun.
Do you do you think do drums help you manage like stress and anxiety and aggression? Like I've heard people say, I started playing drums because it helps me get my anxiety out. Do you find that?
Sometimes I definitely have anxiety, and it's kind of funny. Sometimes I guess I'm such a perfectionist that
Hmm?
sometimes even playing will make me more stressed because I'm like, well, I'm not doing it right. So,
That's
um,
not what music is supposed to be about. You're like,
I know,
no.
I know. So, but that's only when it's really bad. But
Right.
no, it is nice to just come in here in the music room and close the door and kind of just block everything out. And I love to just play along with my iPod or iPhone
Hmm.
now, I guess, at this point in time,
Yeah.
and just come in here and just play and play.
Is
So
that
yeah, it's definitely cathartic.
do you find that it's a really that's the way that you worship God? Is that a great way for you to worship, just to kind of get by yourself with
Yeah.
God and a guitar?
Oh, for sure, for sure. I always have actually preferred worship settings that are just like a guitar
Yeah.
and really nothing else. I mean, I love all instruments. I love a band. I love that,
Yeah.
environment as well. But for worship, yeah, it's just an intimate thing to just be kind of raw with a guitar and just yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. That's my favorite too. I mean,
Hmm.
maybe just a piano sometimes or just a guitar, just like
Right.
a single instrument that's kind of softer and it definitely feels like a more intimate, more worshipful time. I
Yes.
find that I love playing guitar. I'm not very good at it. People ask me like, "Hey, you play guitar? Are you good?" I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm loud, okay, but I'm not very good. I
Oh,
know 5 chords and I will show them
hey,
all to you, right?
that's great. You can
So,
play almost anything with 4 chords. So
that's exactly right. So I'm like, well, there's not really a song that I know 5 chords and I own a capo and I know how to use the capo. I'm a piano
there you
player, so
go.
I'm real good at transposing. So
Oh,
I'm like,
nice.
I only need five
Perfect.
chords. I just
That's
transpose
all
it
you
all the
need.
way I want.
That's great.
I'm like,
That's
I just
great.
fix it. That's what I do. And of course, I'm an alto, so I sing everything in B flat. My friend Marion was
Mm,
laughing. She is so musically talented and had went to school for it and had multiple degrees in
mm.
it and can play all kind of instruments. And she laughed at me one day and she said, "What key are you playing in?" I said, "I have no idea. Let me play this for you. Let me play you the song I wrote." And she started laughing and she said, "I've never seen anybody that knows so little about music that accidentally transposes everything into B flat every single time. You just accidentally wind up there." I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah, good for me.
that's your comfort key, huh?
That was
That's
my
great.
comfort key. And because she was like, "Explain to me your process and how you do this." I don't know. It's just how
Just
I do it
boop.
because that's how I sing it. And she
Hmm.
was like, "You just accidentally landed on B flat. And no matter what instrument I pick up, now I know that I'm in B flat on the keyboard or the piano.
Uh-huh.
The rest
Uh-huh.
of them, I'm just accidentally winding up there, which I thought was funny. And she did too. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm not very good, but I'm loud. But,
Hey,
but I find that even in just being a very mediocre guitar player. A lot of times I can pick up the guitar and even without lyrics, even without words, feel
Mm-hmm.
very like I'm worshiping. Like there's just
Yes,
a form of worship in music itself, sometimes even
absolutely.
more powerful, minus the words, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think I've been playing on worship teams since I was 15. So 15 years. And
Yeah.
there's just so much. It's not a production, but sometimes it can feel that way because there's so many little, like the sound has to be right, and maybe there's a
Hmm.
technical thing to worry about, and you have to worry about, is the band playing everything at the same time? Are we all going to verse two, or do we all
Right.
know we're going to the bridge? So there's a lot that goes into it that
Yeah.
it kind of almost distracts you, or does
Hmm.
distract you from worshiping for sure,
Right.
as opposed to just someone sitting down with a guitar or a piano and
Yeah.
just.
And I wonder that about worship teams. And of course, playing music myself, I understand that a lot of times I'm at churches and these worship teams will just be doing such a fantastic job, and the whole church is just worshiping, just lifting your
Mhm.
hands and just in the presence of God and worshiping. And sometimes I will actually watch them and everything will be perfect. Like everybody's just on
Yeah.
point, picking up their cues and everybody's doing what they need to do. And I think I know that those people on that stage are not worshiping at that moment because they can't be, because they are so focused and so aware in the moment of what they're doing. and i
Yeah.
and I appreciate that sacrifice, and I wonder, I don't
Hmm.
think, of course, you're not doing it for accolades anyway, but I think probably most of the church doesn't realize the sacrifice that worship teams put into what they do, because they're not getting to worship like the rest of the church is getting to
Yeah.
worship,
Yeah.
because, and so I I love we I had a person on an earlier episode named Robbie Shaw, if you want to go back and watch that, and he's in California, and what he does is he is a traveling worship person, and
Mhm.
he gives worship teams a break, because that's what he said. I mean,
Oh,
that's, he does other things, but he said
yeah.
sometimes it's good to have a guest worship leader in and give the
Yeah.
worship team a time to sit in the pew and be ministered
Yeah.
to.
That's great.
And so he gets that. Yeah. So he's
Yeah.
that's in California. I'd never heard of anybody doing that really, but I'm like,
Yeah.
Robbie, that's very cool that he does that.
That
But
is awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of people don't realize the sacrifice there, that you guys are not only practicing 3 times a week, but then during service, you're very focused. So I
Yeah. Yeah.
I appreciate you guys as worship teams.
Oh,
I've never been on a worship team. So
yeah. It's a lot of fun. I mean, I definitely got burnt out with it when I was in college. Just like I was in college doing all that. I was working at a bakery, and um, so I had to work on Saturdays. I had a day off in the middle of the week, but my weekend was work and then essentially work again because I had to get up and go to church.
right.
So I worship leaders, the ones that have to be there every single week, because when you're
Hmm.
on the team you kind of get shuffled around. There's a schedule. We'll maybe have a week off, but
Okay,
they
that's
never
good.
get a week off. It's
Right.
like they're always doing
Right.
it. And I think there's something to be said about their heart, that
Yeah.
they can worship. Like it's a job, but
Hmm.
they're leading worship. And at least the worship leader that we have now, I mean, I've known her forever, but I know her heart is so focused
Right.
on that worship. And um, she makes sure to give herself vacations too, which I also think is very important.
Good.
So
Good.
we have some
Yeah.
some people on the team who will step up and lead in her place while she's gone, which is really great. But
That is,
yeah.
and I know that churches are leaning toward now. Some of them have like a couple different worship teams that they'll
Mm-hmm.
circulate around, and that's
Mm-hmm.
really cool. And I grew up, I'm older than you, but I remember people having the same worship team every single Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really difficult. And so I was
Yeah.
happy to see the trend of the transitioning, like let's have 3 or 4 teams, or different people that
Mm-hmm.
we can circulate, because it is, especially if people work, a job all week, and then you go to
Yeah.
a couple practices, it is kind of exhausting, to have
It
to.
is for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't want to say that, you don't want to you don't want people to misunderstand what you're saying because you do love it, and
Mhm,
you are called to
mhm.
do it and you're ministering, but you're still human at the same time,
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
it's life is hard, it's tiring sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely had to take a break, for, a little bit. It might have been even like 2 years where I wasn't on a worship team
Yeah,
because it was becoming less about worship. It was more like, "Oh gosh, I have to be here again," kind of a thing, and
right,
when you're leading worship, I mean, everybody up on that stage is a worship leader. It's not just the person singing, leading the songs. We're all
right.
worship leaders.
That's right.
And my heart was just like getting critical
Yeah,
and grumpy. And I was like,
right.
I think I have to just take a
Yeah.
break. But
Step back a minute.
yeah,
Well,
but
that's good. I'm glad
yeah.
that you did that and you were able to recognize that, and yeah,
Hmm.
that's good.
Yeah.
So, um, you're you're gonna sing us a song. Now you're gonna sing the single that's out, or you're gonna sing us a different one?
So I picked a different one,
Okay,
actually.
that's fine.
And it's one that I'm not actually even recording for the EP. So maybe you'll hear it one day on some
So
project.
this is just like an Ashes 613 exclusive.
There you go. Yeah,
Thank you.
exactly.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to put you on full screen. So I'm going to give you center
Okay.
stage. Okay. So let me hide
Alrighty.
myself and you can. Did you write this? Did you write the
I
lyrics?
did. Yeah, I wrote
Okay.
all
Well,
of it in high
you
school,
can.
actually.
Well, tell us a little about it and then sing it for us.
Yeah. All right. So it's called Catch My Breath. And of course, back in high school, I thought, wow, my life is so busy and crazy. Little did I know adulthood was coming and it would get worse. But in the time, I was like so overwhelmed and emotional and all these things. And um, then God just spoke to me one day and said, there's a reason for everything, and I'm leading you through all of it. And that's a lesson that obviously He teaches us over and over again throughout our whole lives. And so this is a song just basically saying, like, how many times am I going to go through this? And kind of all those complaints that you sort of just keep saying to God, like, well, it's not worth it to go through this again. I'm going to go through this, mountain and get to the valley, and then there's going to be another mountain, and blah 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 blah, and just kind of a song about maybe this time I'll just stop and catch my breath and stop complaining and actually understand the meaning of what it all is. So that's the song here. So make sure I won't pull my ear out here. But, all right. Oh, 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 If all I see is trouble ahead, then how can I be content with everything I've already been through? It seems worthless. Is there a purpose to pushing past the next thing when I know it's gonna swing right back into my life? I know you'll lead me home. But how many times do I have to get over the same thing? And how many times do I have to cover the steps to get out of the same frame? And if I got myself into this mess, does that mean I have to get my own self out? I'd better slow down. And maybe this time I'll catch my breath, and I hope this time that I will get the meaning of it all. If this time I catch my breath, then I promise this time I'll do my best to keep it under control. Oh, oh, get over this thing? And how many times do I have to cover the steps to get out of this ring? And if I got myself into this mess, do I have to get my own self out? I better slow down. Maybe this time I'll catch my breath, and I hope this time that I will get the meaning of it all. And if this time I catch my breath, then I promise this time I'll do my best to keep it under control. Oh, there it is.
Forgot to even pick my I'm speechless. I actually forgot to even pick the microphone back up and push them. That is you're amazing.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a pretty simple song. There's not a lot of lyrics, but
I'm really speechless. I mean, you are so talented.
Oh man,
there's so many talented people on this show. I love it. You guys are I'm just continually blown away at the talent. Like, man, is this something you want to do? Like,
absolutely.
I don't know is this something you want to do like full time? Would you like to be like on K-Love one day?
Well, if that should happen.
You're just as good as anybody else on there. I promise. I'm listening. I'm like, what is this?
Oh, thank you.
It was like listening to the radio.
Oh man.
Wow. Like, man, it's beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Oh my gosh, I'm blown away. I love that. So
thanks.
Yeah, we're gonna pray that God just swings some doors wide open for you.
Oh, thank you. Well, I mean, I really appreciate being asked to come on here. I mean, this is really the first time I've ever been able to like publicly like talk about my music and talk about like my vision for it and where I want to go. And so yeah, I mean, and I think it's a really great thing you're doing.
That's what everybody keeps saying. I'm trying. I don't know. I really don't know what I'm doing. Okay. I'm just like little kid in the dark, like feeling around. Like I just felt like I was supposed to do it. And God has really been faithful to me in my naivety here. Hey, let's start a podcast. How do we do it? Don't know. I've never listened to a single podcast in my whole life. I have no idea how other people do it. I don't know how it's done. I don't know what I'm doing. It's okay. Because God, it's okay. He goes before me, right?
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. And our weakness,
so he's already been.
He's strong.
That's right. And so that's what I tell people. Like, we're going to give God all the glory. And not because I'm so humble that I would give God all the glory. Because I have to, because I obviously don't know what I'm doing. So if anything happens, we're all going to know 100% that it was God. Okay.
Amen.
There's no way I can make anything happen, but I just want it to so bad though. Not for me. It's like, I don't care how many clicks I get, but I see all these like you and Robbie and 6 Hours for a Lifetime and Not Ashamed and all these people come on. There's so much talent. And I'm like, I want everybody to get 10 million clicks. Now, how can I make that happen? Right? Like, how can I get these people to the attention of other people? But I can't do it. But I know somebody that can, and he is faithful.
Absolutely.
And so
I was getting like super discouraged by the like industry driven music.
Yeah.
And just kind of the cookie cutter sounds that I was hearing in secular and Christian music. And then I started to get on Instagram and like you're saying, there's so many people out there who are just real, and they're not a part of the industry. They're independent people, and they're making actually really good stuff, really good art.
Really good art, good music, writing great books. doing really great
Absolutely.
things.
Yeah.
And
And
are
we
just
need
not part
people.
of the industry.
Yeah,
Who
we
are
need
some
people
of
like.
your other, you said Stephen Curtis Chapman, who are
Mhm.
your other kind of musical influences? I could hear a little 90s contemporary Christian influence there,
Oh yes. Oh
right?
yes. I can be a little snobby, and so I say cut off at 2010. Like everything before was great, everything
Right?
after. So definitely in high school, like the early 2000s for me. Any kind of Christian like pop punk rock band I was into. So Hawk Nelson, Switchfoot, um, but the two biggest bands in my life were Barlow Girl
Oh yeah.
and Reliant K. Those were like,
Ooh,
those, and my sister loved Reliant K too. So
yeah.
I mean, they're definitely my biggest influence.
Mm.
Absolutely. So yeah, but I love rock. I don't think there's enough of it anymore out there. I think rock has kind of changed. I don't know if it's necessarily gone away, but it's changed. It's not how it used to be. So I'm huge on um, just real amps and real drum sets and real guitars, because now everything is so computer generated. You can't really tell what
Yeah.
you're listening to anymore if it's a real instrument or not. So I'm in very much a back, 15 years ago mindset in terms of music. So that's my
Well, you're
influence for sure.
you're a rocker girl. I have a rocker girl coming up. Wait a second. Let's see.
Yes.
I can't remember, but I was like, all right, she's a rocker.
Yes.
Next Thursday at 8 o'clock. So you'll, and I don't know when the episode will be out. We'll try to get out soon, but she is definitely a rock and roll. She's a rocker girl too. And I'm like,
Yes.
and
Yes.
then, we already did an episode with these men from West Virginia called 6 Hours for a Lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Total rockers. I mean, they played me an
Yes.
acoustic song, but if you could hear the rest of it. And then I was supposed to do an episode tonight with this band called 3 Days Under, which total heavy rock.
Sweet.
And but he's running a fever and he's sick, so he rescheduled.
Oh
But I'm
no.
like, God, so it's funny. I'm only telling you that. I'm not bragging up. I'm just saying, like, I can't. I was like, God, why are you sending me all these rock and roll bands? Because I'm not necessarily. I do enjoy some good rock, but I'm like, that wasn't kind of like what I did. I'm more acoustic
Mm-hmm.
folk, like beard folk or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And so I'm like, God, look at you sending me all these Christian rock bands. And so maybe God is trying to say something too. Like there's just not
I love
enough of.
that.
Right. So yeah, you're going to be in good company. There's
Right.
there's
I
some
love that. I
Christian
love
rock
to hear
episodes.
that they're out there. I love that.
They're
That's
out
awesome.
there and flooding in here. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's my grandparents felt like, of course, they were from the hills, and they just felt like any kind of instruments, like it didn't matter if it had Christian lyrics, if it had electric guitars or drums or lots of beat, straight to
Oh
hell,
yeah. Oh
right? Like
yeah.
we're not
Oh
listening to
yeah.
that,
Oh
old
yeah.
people. And so, but I think that God is in all instruments. I
Oh, for
mean,
sure.
even some, instruments in other countries that we don't even have here. If you listen, you can
Mm-hmm.
just well, I mean, obviously, the Bible says if we don't praise him, the rocks will cry out.
Right.
So everything, all of creation
Make a joyful noise.
literally
Mm-hmm.
is in worship to God
Mm-hmm.
all the time, which I love that. Sometimes I
Absolutely.
love to sit and think about creation in that way, in a worship way. Like if the wind's
Mm-hmm.
blowing, I think it's worshiping its creator.
Mm-hmm.
If the tide comes in, I think it's worshiping its
Yeah,
creator. Like the ocean
absolutely.
knows who created it, the wind knows who created it, and there are
Yeah,
people that don't or that won't
I
acknowledge
know.
it. But
Yeah,
the world acknowledges a creator, and
yeah,
that's awesome to me.
it's
So,
amazing.
woo.
Yeah, yeah,
So I'm not a preacher, so we'll leave that alone. But sometimes I do think about that. I'll be like, wow, creation, all of creation is worshiping, and that's
yeah. That
beautiful.
is amazing to think about. Really, yeah.
Yeah.
Like even just
I
the wind blowing through the trees. It's like a
yeah, I think
chorus
who
kind of.
created
Yeah,
that one? It's
yeah.
worship. That's its form of worship. It's
It's
worshiping its
like
creator.
God is strumming the branches with the
Yeah,
breeze or
just
something. Yeah.
beautiful.
It's cool.
But there's that they have this thing, the scientists have this, I don't know, it's not a stethoscope necessarily, but a thing that they can put on like the mountains, and the mountains are constantly making a noise, a low
Oh,
grumble.
wow.
The earth has a noise like that it just makes. Rocks actually make noise. And so they have figured that out. You'll
Wow.
have to Google that up, that rocks
Yeah.
make noise. And I'm like, of course they do. The Bible says all of creation worships.
Wow.
All of creation groans and waits.
Yeah.
So
There it
that's
is
what's
right there.
going on. There it is.
Yeah.
We're waiting.
Have you seen those videos of the people who will put like salt on a sheet of something, and then they play a sound, and the salt like makes a pattern? It's
I
like
have seen that, and
it's
I'm
the most
blown
beautiful
away.
thing. Yeah, it's so amazing. And it's like how can someone
Yeah.
look at that and go, well, that's a coincidence, like that, like that's
Right.
created right there. That's a beautiful, I mean, God is an
That
artist, you know?
God is an artist, and
Yeah.
that I am blown away by those videos. But that also goes to the frequency of noise. And
Mm-hmm.
they don't always make beautiful flower snowflake patterns. Some frequencies actually make jagged, terrible patterns. And if that's what it does
Oh,
in
I
the
hadn't seen
salt,
those.
yeah,
Wow.
you'll have to watch some of those. If that's what it does
Yeah.
to the salt, that's what it's doing to your body.
Oh,
And
wow.
so you have to be careful of your frequencies. And I know some Christians will say,
Mm.
like, well, that's new age and don't get into that. But that's not new age. God
Hmm.
created frequency, God
Yeah,
created energy.
absolutely.
That's a
Yeah.
created force. And so, yeah, like there are some frequencies, like the ones that sirens are on,
Mm-hmm.
that leave jagged edges and marks. They're
Oh,
terrible. And they said, well, yeah, they picked that frequency on purpose for the emergency vehicles,
yeah.
because those are the ones that catch your attention and get you
Yeah.
out of the way. Well, I understand that, and that's all good and well. But if you live in a city where you have to hear that every day, what is that doing to your nervous system?
Oh, for
And
sure.
right.
Yeah.
And like dog barking is another one, that frequency dog
Oh,
barking's
yeah.
on, it's not a
Oh,
fun
man.
sound. That's not a fun frequency. So just like there are these beautiful frequencies that make these patterns, there are other frequencies, you'll have to look into that make terrible patterns, and you go, okay, I
Yeah.
need to stay away from that. That's not a good
Wow.
frequency.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah, and I think it is too. I'm like, look, so even the salt knows which frequency is good and which to stay away from. And
Yeah.
so and
Hmm.
speaking of that, isn't it? I had a guitar player on here that was telling me about how they used to tune it to one frequency, something about a 432 hertz, and now they tune it on a different frequency.
Mm.
Do Have you heard about that? Something I can't
Yes,
remember. I had heard something about it, but I don't know enough about it to speak on it.
yeah,
But
neither do I.
she was saying, like, yeah, the standard tuning now is on a different wavelength,
Yeah, it's something like 440 or 4,
440, and it used to be 432, and some
something
people
like
still
that.
tune it
Yeah.
to 432 because it's healthier.
Huh.
I am not a
Interesting.
guitar expert. Me and my
Well, I
5 chords,
know.
right.
Sometimes I'll go and try and figure out like a Beatles song or something
Mhm.
from, a few decades ago, and it'll sound out of tune to my guitar, and I'm like, wait, well, that is a C, but I'm in tune, so that makes sense if they've changed the
They changed it.
yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know how they changed it or why they changed it. I mean, there's conspiracies around that, but I have
Hmm.
no idea. I have five
Wow.
chords in my capo.
There you
If
go.
I ever write a autobiography, it's going to be called Five Chords in a Capo. That's what I
I
got
love it.
going.
I love it. I will read it.
5 chords in a capo. That's what I have. My son will tune guitars to whatever the heck he wants them tuned to, and then play
Hmm.
them. It's weird. He'll tune it way down and be playing it sounds like a sitar. I don't know what
Oh yeah, yeah.
he does. What Yeah, he does whatever
Drop
he
D,
wants
drop
with it.
C. Yeah, drop B. Yep,
I
yep.
don't know. I am really, I really float through life like it's unbelievable
Hey,
how little I know, but I manage, right?
that's okay. Sometimes the less you know, like I feel that way about myself. Like I'm like, what? And maybe I'll be taught something, but it goes in one ear and out the
Absolutely.
other. So
Yeah.
I don't know a lot either. And I kind of like to keep it that way in some
I
respects,
just, yeah.
because more joyful that way, I think.
It's,
You're
I
not
was
bogged
gonna
down.
say, right, yeah, people,
Yeah.
yeah, people like, you're so happy, you laugh all the time. Yeah, it's because floating through life. I don't care.
That's great.
Just let it go. If it doesn't make a difference in my life, yeah. So like that guitar thing, she told me, I think an analytical, intellectual person would have got off and that podcast and
Oh
studied
yeah.
that and found
Oh
out about
yeah.
it. And I just kind of went, oh, hey, that's interesting. Never thought another thing
Boop.
about it until just
On to the
now.
next.
Right. Whoop,
Yep.
on to the next thing. Then it just came back to me like, oh yeah, I did hear something about they're tuning the guitars different. I don't know how long they've been doing that, but there's something so interesting about sound waves,
Yeah,
about the
it's really
sound.
cool. Yeah, I'm actually just starting a class. There's a university here, Regent University,
Mm-hmm.
and they're starting up a music institute there for worship. And so I've started an audio mixing class because I want to start doing some audio stuff at church. So we're going to get into that, like the physics of sound and all of that. So that'll be really interesting.
That will. And if you find
Yeah,
out anything really super good and life changing, I
yeah,
want you to text me,
I
okay, and
will
tell
let
me
you
about it.
know.
Yeah, the science of sound. I love it too. And I actually think if there was any one of those kind of things to get into, that would be my one. I know I have people
Hmm.
that do essential oils, and some people do like the energy and the positive thinking.
Right,
But I'm
right.
thinking if there's any of those things I was going to get into, it would be the science of sound because it's
Yeah.
so, I mean, I feel like, and I did just a little bit of research at one time, but I just don't have the time to really give to it. But they say like
Mm.
there are some frequencies that are so healing that that they actually kill cancer cells. Like they have
I've
played
heard that
them
too.
and watched the cancer
Yeah.
cells die. Isn't that
Yes.
amazing?
That
That's
is
that's in,
amazing.
that's incredible that you can
Yeah.
play a sound and actually watch them die.
Yeah.
And I'm
That
like,
is
this
so
science of
amazing.
sound, I believe, goes deeper than we realize. It just takes,
Well, yeah.
you have to have that time to dive into
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah, and
know.
can it heal like fractured bones and stuff too? Doesn't that vibration
I
and stuff
I
help
didn't
that or
I didn't see that YouTube video, but
mm,
if anybody's watching this podcast, they want to know about it. YouTube is just full of, now you got to be
yeah.
careful because it's not all real, but there is
Well,
some real stuff
absolutely,
on there,
but
right? Like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I've heard
I'm
like with having cats, people are like, if you have a broken bone, let your cat like purr on your bone because the vibrations will help or
I
something.
I
So,
did see no, that actually was true of cat purring and dog, it wasn't the barking, but something the dog did too,
mm-hmm.
that was on a frequency that was absolutely healing and had
Yeah,
been proven to like heal PTSD and anxiety. So
yes,
it is a healing
yeah,
frequency. So they were telling
absolutely.
you right. That's a healing frequency.
Again,
Isn't that
creator,
cool?
man. He
The
gave us all this
creator.
stuff.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just amazing. But I think it's sad sometimes because if you try to have this conversation with a lot of church people, they will accuse you of being kind of a new age and into witchcraft. And I'm
Sure,
thinking,
sure.
no. So what? Right. But what you're doing is you're missing out on a whole other part of creation.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not denying a creator. I'm saying even
He gave us these
sounds,
things.
even
Yeah,
these sound waves point to the existence of a creator, like the you were talking
absolutely.
about, even the salt making these patterns, like
Mm-hmm.
it all to me doesn't deny a creator, it points
Yeah.
even more so, like there's no
Mm-hmm.
way this is a coincidence,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like this is amazing.
Yeah.
So
Talking about heaven earlier, it just makes you think like all this beautiful stuff here, like how much more beautiful is it going to be in
yeah,
heaven? Like, wow.
let me ask you this, you're a
So,
creative person and I don't usually mention this to people, but I'm going to ask you, do
okay.
you think there are going to be colors in heaven that we've never seen before?
Dude, I say that all the time.
Right.
I say that about food. I say that about like music. We're going to hear like notes that we've never heard before.
That we've
We're
never
going to
heard.
be able to taste food that we've never tasted before.
Like
Like
this.
it's just going to be a whole
That's what I
mind-blowing
think
thing.
too. I'm
Yeah.
like, and I tried to imagine one day a color that I had never seen, but I
Yeah.
can't, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you
Yeah.
cannot imagine a color you haven't seen because you don't
Yeah.
have any point of reference. I think there's going to be landscapes that we've never seen, like
Oh
right
man.
now, and you can't think of that because all you can think of is mountains and
Mountains,
rocks and
water.
cliffs
Yeah.
and water and grassy meadows. But he created all of that. Is it not possible that he could create something you can't even imagine the landscapes that are there.
Yeah. It's
And
really exciting.
that blows my mind to think about that. Like,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah. So yeah, I've said that too. I'm like, I think there's going to be colors and smells and food. Yeah. That new colors. I'm pretty excited for that. So yeah. And so I like to think about those things too. I think it's going to be so much more fun than just, I don't know that we're going to be floating around in white robes playing harps.
Right.
Like the picture. I
think
it's going to be,
I hope not.
It's going to be better than that. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I'll still take that over the other, but I was kind of hoping it would be a little more fun. And I know that it will
I'm sure it will be.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be.
He's going to make a new heaven and a new earth. So we're going to have even a whole new planet to
It's going to be a whole brand new place with brand new things.
Mm-hmm.
But what is Paul said, the eye has, you cannot, what's the eye has not seen and the mind cannot comprehend what God has in store for those that love him. So what I would like to say to people that don't know Jesus is, man, you have to know Jesus. And I've said this before, I want you to know Jesus, not because I want to tell you what you're doing wrong and how disappointed God is in you and how you're a sinner. I'm not trying to tell you all those things. I'm trying to tell you, I want you to know Jesus because I've lived both lives. This one's better. Jesus is better. He is the, Shane and Shane have a song, and there's a line in that song that says he's the richest of fair. And that line gets me every time. It just humbles me. He is the richest of fair. He just is. And so that's what I want people to see that maybe has not been represented the correct way to the world. Like, man, taste and see that the Lord is good. Not let me tell you what you're doing wrong. Not that. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Right.
And that's what it's all about. He's in it for making us whole. He's not in it to condemn us. He's in it to love us. And just in my life in the last couple of years, just learning to give my life to him, even when I'm discontent, it's like that, just looking and seeing all the steps that he's prepared and shifted, where I was sitting there complaining, like, oh, I don't want to be here. I don't want to. And all the while he's like, okay, like, but you see what's coming. Just living in that. It's a surrendering, and I'm sure it feels a little strange to people who don't know, but like giving your life away, and yet in return you get such life from giving your life. You get better life. So
you get better. Yeah. Well, that's why the podcast is named Ashes, because that's what he gives. Ashes. He gives beauty for ashes. You can literally bring to him the scraps of your life and say, here is the broken scraps just that I have, it's just destroyed, and he will take them. He doesn't look at your tiny little scraps and say, I don't want that, and you made a mess of that, and you really tore that up. He just says, okay, thank you, that's actually what I want. And you're going, you want this? It's disgusting. And he goes, yeah, that's what I want. And he takes it, and then he gives you back something beautiful.
Absolutely.
And so I want so much people to know this Jesus that I know, the one that loves. So maybe we'll get a chance to tell people that and represent him well. That's my prayer. Help me represent you well. Right. And shine even through all my mess. Like, keep shining through all my mess. So I'm willing. I'm not perfect, but I'm willing to just go, okay, well, if you're going to use me, then that's cool. Like, you could just use anybody. But like Isaiah said, okay, well, I'll go. Here I am. Send me. I'll go. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but all right. Well, it has been just wonderful talking to you. You are so beautiful and so smart and talented. Look at you. I love you so much already. So, and one day you're going to be on the Kayla Fan Awards.
Oh, man.
That's right. And I'll be like, hey, I know her. Right.
Man.
Yeah, you don't know. Well, God is faithful, and whatever he wants for us, like, and I know that you would feel the same way. In whatever capacity he is, you're going to be the most beneficial to people and to you. Only he knows that, but I'm going to pray that he just fling some doors wide open and give you the strength to walk through them. Because sometimes God opens big doors and they're scary.
He does.
And they're scary.
Yes.
So I tell people, don't just pray, God open doors. Pray, God, give me the strength to walk through the doors that you open. Because sometimes God will fling a big door open and you're like, oh,
I'm not ready for that.
You're like, that's a big door.
Even just getting your message about doing the podcast. I had gotten in bed and I was watching Gilmore Girls and I was like, falling asleep. I happened to look and see your message and I was like, I was like, I can't sleep. I'm so scared. And then I pulled up some of your episodes. I watched them and I was like, oh, this is going to be a great time. But yeah, definitely in the moment. And I felt like God was saying, like, here you go. Like, let's do this thing. And so I was excited. But yeah, it's that moment of where God will take you by surprise for sure.
Right.
And you're like,
and he did me. He did me too. Yeah. Yeah, no, nothing to be scared of. And I think some people are, and then they come on and they'll say, hey, this is the best podcast I've ever been on. And I'm like, oh, good. I don't know anything about the rest of them, but
yeah, it's been a blast. I've felt real comfortable with you. So it's been fun.
I try to, because I don't know what I'm doing. That's what I tell people. I'm like, just pretend like you're just talking to your sister or something. Cause I don't really know what I'm doing.
Well, that's the best thing to do.
Yeah. We're all in here together, right? That's how I feel about it. I don't feel like I'm some big podcaster and you can come on my show. It's not at all like that. It's like, hey, I have this idea and I'm just like getting everybody's hand. Let's hold hands. Let's all do this together, right? Like, let's all do this together. And somebody texted me and said, hey, when you're famous, don't forget me. And I was like, first off, if I'm ever anywhere near being famous, dragging all of you with me, whether you want to be dragged, whether you want to be dragged or not, you're getting dragged.
Not going alone.
So I'm like, famous? What are you talking about? Like, barely making it, like famous. Why would I be famous? I have no talent. You guys should be famous. You have all the talent. So if I can be even one little tiny cog in making that happen, thrill my heart. So let's see. That's great. Awesome. Yeah. So anyway, if you know anybody else you think you want to send on, just send me an email. Send them my way, and we'll get them on. So word of mouth is
creative people. So
that's really cool. Yeah, word of mouth I think is the best. I mean, I do sometimes reach out, but I have people that'll send me like, "Hey, listen to this girl. Hey, check this painting out." And so yeah. But anyway, thank you so much for an hour of your Saturday afternoon, right in the middle of the day. So I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Right?
No, it's perfect.
Okay.
Nice,
all right.
Rainy, gray day. So
well, and they don't have enough of those up here. Actually, I miss them. Yeah, I kind of miss them because I find that there's a rest in the gray, rainy days.
For sure.
Because you give yourself permission.
Yes.
You're like, if it's pretty outside and it's warm, you feel guilty.
Right.
You're like, I should be doing right, or like I should be doing this or that, or
yard work.
I should be outside. I was gonna say I should be outside weeding those flower beds or yard work. I should be doing something, and then you have this gray, rainy day, and it's like you give yourself permission to rest. Isn't that crazy that we live in such a society that we feel like we have to give ourselves permission to rest? Like we feel guilty if we rest. Like that's
something I've been working on for sure.
I was going to say, we need to change that. Rest is just as important as work, but we don't prioritize it like that. So we need those gray, rainy days, I think.
So
cozy days. Okay. Well, thank you so much. And I look forward to keeping up with you. We'll put your link to your Spotify song and we'll have you on again.
Thank you so much.
Later on in your journey. Okay. Bye.